In this video, I will tell the holidays from a different emotional perspective. Joyful occasion that were overshadowed by tragedies. 3 holidays, 3 different stories, 1 unfortunate outcome. Christmas is one of the most popular holidays all over the world. Every year, people celebrate this day with great enthusiasm and joy. For them, this is a time of family warmth, gift exchange, and fun. But for one family, Christmas Eve 2008 turned into terrible events. Dressed in a Santa costume, Bruce Pardo went to a Christmas party in Covina, a suburb of Los Angeles. His goal was not to attend the celebrations, he wanted to arrange a bloodbath. Alas, the mind succeeded. As a result of his terrible act, Bruce Pardo, 45, took the lives of 9 members of the Ortega family and then used a homemade flamethrower to set fire to the house. Pardo had been planning the massacre for several months and put his plan into action just 6 days after the divorce was finalized. As explained in this excerpt, at approximately 23:30 Pacific Time, Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, dressed in a Santa Claus costume, knocked on the door of his former relative's house, which was inhabited by about 25 a man with a gift box containing a rotating air compressor converted to supply gasoline from it, and at least 4 9mm semi-automatic pistols. Moments after opening the door, Pardo pulled out his pistols and immediately shot his 8-year-old niece Katrina Józefowski, daughter of Leticia Józefowski, sister of Sylvia Pardo, as she ran to greet him, wounding her in the face. Then he opened indiscriminate fire on the fleeing partygoers. In addition to firearms, he also had an incendiary device, which he planned to use to set fire to the house. It is believed that the Covina massacre was due to Pardo's anger over his divorce. At first, everything seemed fine in their marriage, but things went downhill when Sylvia discovered that Pardo had abandoned his son with brain damage many years ago, but continued to demand it as a tax write-off. According to reports, as a result of his actions on that fateful day in 2008, he destroyed the whole family. Among the people who died as a result of the shooting and the subsequent fire were Sylvia, her parents, her 2 brothers and their wives, her sister and her wife, 17-year-old nephew. However, not everything went according to plan, and Pardo received 3rd-degree burns while trying to set fire to the house. Pardo fled the scene and was later found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. It is believed that his inability to remove the Santa costume that stuck to his skin could have been a factor, as it would have prevented his plans to board a plane and escape. Police also reportedly found $17,000 in cash wrapped in a belt on his legs. Later, investigators discovered that he had booby-trapped 2 rented cars, one that he had left at his brother's house, and the other that he had parked at the house of his ex's lawyer with the aim of killing them as well. The horrific attack began when the whole family gathered together to celebrate the holiday when the little girl was happy about Santa. The second story will be about Halloween, Bloody Halloween. Ronald Clark O'Brien and his wife Daneen resided in Deer Park, Texas. They had 2 children, a son, Timothy, 8 years old, and Elizabeth, 5 years old. On October 31st, 1974, the O'Brien family had dinner with their friends Jimmy and Jean Bates. 6 people went to treat themselves to sweets in the Bowling Green area in Pasadena. They were Ronald, his children Timothy and Elizabeth, Jimmy's friend, and his 2 children. But it was raining, so the group drove only 2 streets before night fell. In one house, the porch light was turned off, but the children knocked anyway. No one answered, and Jimmy Bates chased the children down the street. O'Brien stayed for a while, but soon caught up with the children and handed them 1 Pixie Stix candy, saying that they were given by one of the residents of the district. He gave the 5th candy to an 11-year-old boy. The O'Briens returned home. Daneen went to visit friends, leaving Ronald with the children. He told the children they could eat 1 candy around 9 p.m. before going to bed. Timothy reached for a lollipop, but Ronald advised him to try Pixie Stix. After tasting the powdered sugar, Timothy notices that it has a bitter taste. Ronald gives his son some cool lemonade to wash it down. After a while, Timothy reports that he has a stomachache and runs to the bathroom, where he begins to vomit. Suddenly he starts convulsing and he goes limp in his father's arms. Ronald O'Brien called an ambulance and reported that his son had eaten a poison candy. The ambulance arrived a few minutes later. Upon arrival, O'Brien tried to explain what had happened to the ambulance attendants. Unfortunately, Timothy died an hour after arriving at the hospital. The fluids that were found in his stomach contained 16 milligrams of cyanide. By a lucky chance, none of the children ate the candy anymore. The news of the child's death quickly spread around the neighborhood, causing panic among parents. An investigation has begun. The police did not immediately suspect O'Brien. Ronald claimed that the owner of the house gave him a neighbor, Courtney Melvin. This turned out to be a lie since Melvin was at work that day. Colleagues confirmed his alibi. Then the police suspected O'Brien. During the investigation, it turned out that O'Brien owed more than $100,000. He has changed jobs 21 times in the last 10 years. In the last place, he was suspected of stealing goods. He had overdue bank loans. His house and car were arrested. The police found out that a few months ago, Ronald had issued life insurance policies for his children in the amount of $10,000 per child. Later, another $20,000. The wife claimed that she did not know about the policies for $60,000. Ronald called the insurance company the day after his son's death. He was interested in how to get compensation. The police could not find out where Ronald bought the poison. According to police, O'Brien filled a giant pixie sticks with cyanide to kill his 2 children and get money on their life insurance policies. On November 5, 1974, he was arrested and charged with the murder of Timothy and the attempted murder of other children. The state of Texas planned to seek the death penalty and charged O'Brien with capital murder. This was partly due to the fact that O'Brien was trying to profit from the murder of his son. O'Brien has pleaded not guilty to all charges. His trial began on May 5, 1975. Ronald testified on his own behalf, stating that he was innocent. His defense tried to play on the urban legend of the mad poisoner who spoils candy with poison or needles. Unfortunately for the defense, not a single case of candy poisoning on Halloween has been reported in the United States. Witnesses to the rebuttal testified that O'Brien had a bad reputation for telling the truth. On June 2, 1975, the jury was absent for only 46 minutes and returned with a guilty verdict on the first count of murder, punishable by death, and 4 counts of attempted murder. The next phase was the fines. This time, the jury demanded 71 minutes and finally sentenced Ronald O'Brien to death. O'Brien was incarcerated at the Texas State Penitentiary in Huntsville. It is reported that O'Brien was nicknamed Candy by other prisoners. It took Ronald Clark O'Brien almost 10 years to exhaust the appeal process. He received 3 suspended sentences. His 3rd execution date was set for October 31st, 1982, the 8-year anniversary of Timothy's death, by Judge Michael McSpadden, who offered to personally take O'Brien to death row. O'Brien's 4th execution date was set for March 31st, 1984. This time, another reprieve was not granted. In 1977, Texas adopted lethal injection as a method of execution, which saved O'Brien from the electric chair. On the night of O'Brien's execution, about 300 people gathered outside the Texas State Prison in Huntsville. They shouted, "Trick or treat," and threw candy at anti-death penalty protesters. The 4th date was scheduled for March 31st, 1984. O'Brien demanded an additional stay of execution, citing that the lethal injection was cruel and unusual. On March 31st, 1984, O'Brien received a lethal injection that ended his life. According to reports, the drug began to take effect after 30 seconds, and 8 minutes later, the killer was dead. O'Brien took his last breath at 0:48. And the final story begins in November 2014. 21-year-old Shane Montgomery, a Catholic high school graduate from the Roxborough area of Philadelphia, was in his final year of university. On Wednesday evening, November 26, 2014, Montgomery, his cousin, and a couple of friends were walking through bars in Philadelphia. They were on vacation. Early on Thanksgiving morning, Shane and his band were drinking at Kildare's Irish Pub on Main Street. At one point, Montgomery separated from his friends in a crowded bar. At 1:45, he accidentally bumped into the DJ's desk. The bouncer ordered the student to leave the pub. Montgomery excused himself and left the room. Last seen at 2 a.m., he was walking through the busy Manayunk district. Loved ones couldn't reach him by phone, and Shane didn't show up for the Thanksgiving dinner. The concerned family filed a missing Montgomery report with the Philadelphia Police Department. His disappearance puzzled the authorities, and the FBI joined the investigation. Agent J.J. Claver said there was no indication that Montgomery was drunk to the point where he couldn't function. His bar bill was only $17. On Friday, November 28, 2014, volunteers distributed missing persons announcements throughout the Manayunk district. The posters featured a photo of a missing college student and an image of a Celtic cross tattooed on his shoulder blades. Montgomery, who is 5 feet 11 inches tall and weighs 140 pounds, was wearing jeans and a gray hoodie when he left the bar. The search for Shane Montgomery involved the use of dogs, a helicopter, and boats on the Schuylkill River, which flows along the main street of Manayunk. 500 volunteers searched the riverbank, the pedestrian path, and the railway tracks running parallel to the street. A cell tower in the town of Lower Merion picked up a signal from Montgomery's cell phone a little less than an hour after he left Kildare's house. The phone itself has not recovered. There was no CCTV footage in the bar that detectives could view. A reward of $10,000 was announced for information allowing to establish his whereabouts. Shortly after noon on Saturday, January 4, 2015, a volunteer diver from the Underwater Recovery Department of Garden State, New Jersey, found the body of Shane Montgomery at a depth of 3 feet near the shore of the Schuylkill River, near the Manayunk bar where he was last seen. 2 weeks earlier, a diver from the same unit found Montgomery's car keys in the water near the riverbank, 800 yards upriver where his body was found. On January 5, 2015, Shane Montgomery's uncle told reporters that the forensic medical examination had completed an autopsy and recognized the death of a young man by drowning as an accident. In March 2019, a jury in Philadelphia found that the owner of the Kildare Irish pub had to pay $525,000 in damages to the family of Shane Montgomery for serving alcohol to a student after the student was clearly intoxicated. There is a popular theory called killers with emoticons. She claims that a clan of serial killers operates throughout the United States, attacking white male college students, dumping their bodies into rivers, lakes, or ponds to erase physical evidence, and drawing emoticons in landfills in the U.S. order to mock the police. These deaths are usually attributed to drowning while drunk, but proponents of the theory argue that there is a striking similarity among the victims that cannot be explained by mere chance. Is it true or just a theory? To this day, it is unknown. The unsolved case is gathering dust in the FBI desks.